Hello, assalamu alaikum. My name is Carl Norquist. My Senegalese name is Ousmane Saidi. I'm a 2024 volunteer with Young Adults in Global Mission. I'm recording this message from the roof of my home in Yambol, Senegal. It's Easter today, hence my fancy outfit. YAGM is an international service program operated by the ELCA. Its mission is to serve in the spirit of accompaniment, walking alongside global companions in a manner that practices mutuality, interdependence, and solidarity. I came to YAGM at a point in my life where I felt a little directionless. I was 28, had degrees in art and English, and 5 years of career experience as a journalist. I was restless and open to doing something new. Time abroad would allow me to confront some of my privilege and hopefully grow as a writer and storyteller. After a lengthy interview process, I was accepted to the program in February 2023. This year, YAGM has almost 30 volunteers distributed across 6 country programs. I would not learn I was going to Senegal until March at Interview, Discernment, and Placement Weekend, DIP, in Chicago. After DIP, it was a race to prepare for my year abroad. I had 5 months to pack, plan, and fundraise. Thanks to donations from people like you, I'm proud to announce I met my fundraising goal. Now, on to Senegal. I, alongside 5 other volunteers, arrived for in-country orientation in August. We would spend the next month in training, learning about language and culture. One of the big themes of YAGM is it's not about the work. Historically, missionaries have made a bad name for themselves. A lot of YAGM, myself included, are a bit uncomfortable even using the M word. I have no interest in proselytizing. I have no interest in creating more Christians or selling our brand of Lutheranism. It's not our job to rescue or save people. YAGM does not ask its volunteers to make change abroad, but rather be changed. The hope is that when we return to the United States, we can apply what we've learned. The real mission, as YAGM organizers have told me, is at home. When it comes to learning new languages, I've always been awful, but Senegal would require I learn Wolof. Although French is the official language in Senegal, it is still viewed as the colonizer's language. Most people speak traditional languages like Wolof or Serer. My Wolof is awful, but thanks to help from a tutor, I now know enough to get by. I think I've gained new sympathy for immigrants learning to speak English in the United States. By the time we were eventually thrust into our host communities, there were still big gaps in our education. We never learned practical skills like how to buy groceries or negotiate a taxi. The expectation was that we'd figure this stuff out when we got to where we were going. We would have to learn to place our trust in others. My assignment is in Yambol, which is a suburb of Dakar. YAGM partners with organizations that already exist within the country and only goes to places where it's invited. I work for Services Lutheran pour la Développement au Sénégal, SLDS. SLDS is a nonprofit that operates in Yambol and the village of Linguère. They run a community center, a school, a dairy, a health clinic, and offer vocational classes for the community. While they're affiliated with the Lutheran Church in Senegal, they don't evangelize. They share the gospel with their work, not their words. And SLDS does great work. Their health and education programs are awesome. I think they set a great example for what Christians should be doing in the world today. The focus should be doing something good in the community, not filling churches. My assignment with SLDS is in communications. Mostly that involves taking photos of their events and assisting with social media. SLDS has very limited presence on Facebook, so I have been helping to build that up. I'm working with SLDS Director Philip Badge to better market SLDS's mission. While I'm not actively in the field taking photos, I'm working in the CCGN library. I'm an English and art major, and I love books, so I have a lot of fun organizing the shelves and helping to manage the collection. The library might be the most popular service that SLDS provides. In Yambol, I live with a host family. They only speak Wolof, so communication is hard, but I think we get along well. They have shown me endless patience and grace, and I'm thankful for their hospitality. Learning to share my space with a family is a challenge I did not expect. Since graduating from college, I've always lived alone. I had a bachelor apartment in downtown Sioux Falls, and I loved taking late-night walks to my favorite bar and inviting friends over. A lot of that freedom is lost to me. My host family is very protective and doesn't like me traveling after dark. My language skills also limit what I can do. I'm a 28-year-old guy, but in Senegal I feel like a child. I'm learning what it means to be humble and ask for help. As for my family, I share my home with 3 people. My host mother is named Janaba. She's in her 60s and is a widow. She has 7 daughters and 1 son, most of whom have moved out of the house. That leaves me with a brother, Mohammed, and a sister, Kajia. Both are close to my age. Kajia has a wicked sense of humor, and while I don't understand most of what she's saying, I get the impression she's often making fun of me. Right now it's Ramadan, and I'm fasting with my family as a show of solidarity. Waking up early before sunrise to have breakfast and having an iftar meal in the evening is something we can share together. Senegal is 95% Muslim, but the different faiths have traditionally lived together in harmony. I think there's a lot we can learn from each other. Of course, I would be remiss if I did not mention my YAGM peers in Senegal. I'm in Yambol with another volunteer, Abigail Swigard, who works as a teacher's aide. Also in Senegal are Cece Hook and Josh Kenst. Cece and Josh are in Fatigue and work closely with Finnish missionaries. Some of their work involves helping to translate educational resources into local languages. I was able to visit Fatigue in February for a church-wide harvest festival. It was cool seeing Lutherans from all over Senegal worshiping together. Many churches, including our Dakar parish, came with clothing made from matching fabric. Meanwhile, in Linguère are Grace and Micah Bransroot. Grace is a nurse and works for a health clinic. She assists with health screenings, medications, and HIV treatment. Micah works at a dairy. His experience is in HR, so agriculture is a big departure for him. In March, I toured some SLDS sites in Linguère, including a hay and dairy farm. The Jollof Dairy helps fund some of SLDS's other programs. YAGM offers a few retreats during the year where we can see more of the country, catch up, and get much-needed mental health breaks. I really savor this time we have together. In November, we reunited in Saint Louis for the Thanksgiving holiday. Saint Louis has a rich history and was at one point controlled by the British, French, and Portuguese. Fishing is a big part of Senegalese culture, and you can see many of the country's famous painted gala boats. Saint Louis was also an opportunity to have a traditional American Thanksgiving. I made a green bean casserole. I think as Christians, we need to re-examine what it means to be a missionary. I wonder sometimes if I'm leaving my mark here, and I need to remind myself that's not the point. I'm not blessing Senegal with my presence. My job is to accompany, is to set a better example of what it means to be a Christian in the world today. We should look to our neighbors and ask ourselves what we can learn. We also need to acknowledge how we might have hurt them. How can we take lessons about colonialism and racism in Senegal and apply them to our lives in the United States? Sometimes that means digging into our own history. Where can we see injustice in America? I think about Native Americans, whose land we now occupy. I think about migrants today, people who are working in low-paying jobs and don't have someone who can speak on their behalf. Maybe as a church we're afraid of being too political. We're afraid of being too woke. But Jesus was political. Jesus was disruptive. He was constantly on the side of the marginalized. The real mission of YAGM happens at home. Thank you. Peace be with you. Salam alaikum. Jamrek. Alhamdulillah.